The following program is presented by the Metropolitan Library Service Agency.
Hello, welcome to All About Kids, a program focusing on the interests of children and young people and some of the issues affecting them. Our topic for today is the Empowerment for Youth Leadership Program, which is funded by the Governor's Planning Council on Developmental Disabilities. This program, which is co-sponsored by YMCAs and local school districts, provides an opportunity for junior high school students with developmental disabilities to meet with their peers in a recreational setting. Our guests, Kathy Truax, Peter Marker, and Doug Barnes, will discuss the program and will be joined by some of the young participants in the Ridgedale YMCA program. Kathy, Empowerment for Leadership is a wonderful title, but it seems to me like this program is also about building friendships and bridging differences. Why don't you describe a little bit about the program, how it started, and how people in the community are involved?
Sure. The Empowerment for Leadership is a youth development project funded specifically out of the Governor's Planning Council of Developmental Disabilities out of St. Paul. And it's sort of their kickoff initiative to look at youth, young people specifically with developmental disabilities, in terms of empowering them in leadership. And so the YMCA of Minneapolis was asked about 1990-91 to conduct a feasibility study initially to find out how feasible it really is to include young people with severe disabilities into existing programs and or new programs. So we completed the study, and out of the study we came up with this model. The Empowerment for Leadership model is in 4 schools in Minnesota. It's a statewide program, Minnetonka Junior High, paired up with the Minnetonka YMCA, or the Ridgedale YMCA, and Wanton and Northeast Junior High, which is paired up with Northeast YMCA, and I actually run the one at Wanton myself. And then the Grand Rapids YMCA is partnered up with the Grand Rapids Junior High School. Then the meat of the model is to run a current school-based, which would at Minnetonka is an after-school program, or an in-school program, like such as going on in Minneapolis, to develop friendships with the students as well as all the different staff people working in the project. And so a teacher and a Y worker partner up together and team teach a class model or an after-school rec model. The relationships are built among the staff, and then the young people start developing their own relationships, and then from there you can do lots of other kinds of things. So you're right, it's a big step. That first step is developing of the relationships.
A little bit later in the program we'll be talking with some of the young people, and they have some wonderful experiences to relate in a very short time. Pete, you and Doug are both staff working with the people in, or the students in the Minnetonka area. How did you get involved? Have you been Y staffers for a long time, or was this something new and exciting?
Doug has, I haven't. I've been a Y staff for less than a year, and I got involved through Kathy, and she told me about the program and talked about its goals and talked about what it was all about, and it sounded very interesting, very challenging. It's something that for me was a field that I was completely unfamiliar with. And
so you didn't have a background in social work, not a background in education or special ed or anything?
So that was, I kind of thought that this would be a good opportunity. The YMCA is a great place to experience things, and that was, I thought it would be a good opportunity to take advantage of it. So that's how I got involved.
Doug, what about you?
I've been a program director with the Ridgedale Y for 6.5 years, and I've done a lot of different programming, but I was kind of in the same position as Pete in that I didn't have any background in this kind of programming. And I think that's really, I have a degree in education, so I've been in school systems, but I think that's really what's made it a great program for me, is that I haven't had any kind of really extensive training in special populations or anything like that, and the intent, as I understood it when I started, and how it's worked out is that we don't want to look at two sets of kids with disabilities and kids without disabilities. We want to look at a group of junior high kids that we're doing programming with, and that's really how it's worked out, and that's how I've been able to approach it. And it has been a challenge. It's been something very new and interesting. So.
In terms of recruiting, how do you go about making this program interesting to students so that they want to participate and kind of cultivate, you've both talked about volunteer opportunities and bringing kids together. How do you present that to the students when you talk to them?
That's the piece where the school cooperation is so important, and we've had a great experience at Minnetonka Junior High, and we've had referrals from counselors for peer helpers, and peer helpers are very enthusiastic. I mean, they're the kind of kids that want to be involved, and they don't really question what the involvement is sometimes. They just want involvement, and the schools have been great about locating an opportunity for a young person and then saying, this would be good for you, why don't you try it out, and that's where we really rely on the schools for recruitment.
So it's a fine example of something that's coming down from...
It's a true partnership.
Collaboration.
And it would not work without the partnership of the school and in the agency working together, which the other goal of the partnership is to move young people, whether they have a disability or not, out of a school-based model, which is very safe for not only themselves, but parents view school safe, field trips, but to move out into community aspects, which the YMCA runs things all summer long and runs things on night, weekends, or whatever. And that's the whole goal, is that continued movement of young people where they're at. And
the whole idea, too, of helping young people mature and have a sense of responsibility and a sense of community so that differences are minimized. So what kind of in-service do you provide for the students who join your program, or do you just bring them all together in a social situation and start throwing out the balls? And how do you start it out?
To a certain extent, part of it is like that. A number of the kids that are involved with the group now just saw us in the gym one day or saw us in the room or walking through the halls, and they had some time to kill on their hands that day and joined in the game, and really the idea of the whole program is to include people. And so we said, great, sure, if you're going to play by the rules, you can play. And a number of them have just kept coming back.
And of course, with students this age, what their friends are doing is real important, so it's kind of a word-of-mouth thing. If somebody participates and enjoys it, then other students are more liable to jump in. What kind of reaction do you get from parents? You talked a little bit about parents being concerned sometimes about which programs are safe for kids to be involved in.
The parents have been fantastic. They're very supportive. They have parental concerns, that all parents have, but they've been so cooperative with. Transportation is always an issue, and they've been great with that, and they've been very accepting when we do special projects that maybe expose their young person.
The camping trip's a good example. With Matt.
Yeah. That was a real boundary thing with Matt's parents. We took Matt on a camping trip to Camp Sunrise, and she had a lot of concerns, and we spent a lot of time talking through those. And
well, the first time away from home,
exactly.
Is he going to be protected and cared for, all that type of thing?
And he's going to camp with us again at the beginning of summer. So.
And how old is Matt?
Matt is, I think, 13.
So one of the things that this program does too is offer kids an opportunity to have a lot of the experiences that other children or young people do.
Exactly.
The camping experience, and again, that leads to a development of friendship and sort of a maturing process.
Absolutely, yeah.
So where do you get your funding? Is it all through the Y, or have you done some grant writing? Or
currently, the funding is all done by the Governor's Council, Governor's Planning Council on Developmental Disabilities.
This is Governor Carlson? Or whichever. It's something that's been on. It goes through more than one term.
Yeah, right. The Governor's Planning Council on Developmental Disabilities funds special groups or special grants for whatever reasons, and so they put out a request for proposal for the best youth development model that's out there, and so the Minneapolis Y applied, as did other agencies, and we received the funding. It will go through the November of '92, and we're hoping to get funding then for another year, hopefully longer.
So as a model
It's a year to
program,
year.
do you find staff from various other organizations coming to take a look, to talk to you, to see how it actually operates?
And that's happening right now, actually fairly quickly. We just got a call last week from Los Angeles wanting to model the program, which for Minnesota, the Governor's Council, they like to be known as the prime model, and so they would like to be able to consult with other states to say, we have a great youth development model for kids with severe disabilities. Check out the Minnesota model, and that's happening now.
What are the differences between the programs? Your program at Ann Watton, for instance, and this program in Minnetonka.
The Minneapolis, the Ann Watton and Northeast Junior High models are school-based, meaning that in Minneapolis, young people have an 8th-hour class that's a free choice class, and so we run an actual class. So it's a 40-minute block of time, and the teacher and myself team teach. So the young people come together for this 8th-hour elective class. And then for us, our big challenge is to do things beyond the class in the evening or on the weekend. And that's a lot of extra effort.
Do you get input from the young people involved about the kind of activities other than camping that they like to do? Do they have lots of ideas?
Definitely.
Such as Pete.
They have some very poignant ideas. You know, our options are limited just because the resources are limited. You know, it's the old story. But we have creative kids, and we try to do, sometimes we do service projects. One day we sat down with a couple of huge boxes of bike-a-thon brochures and filled those out, and we just kind of do whatever we can do. We fly by the seat of our pants a lot.
That's why you jumped at the chance to make this program a field trip.
Yes.
Field trip? Oh,
Field trip, sure.
we can drive that distance. It's only 5 miles. Right.
Are you going to be writing this up or compiling any kind of a year-end project sort of report that? There
will be some reports done by the University of Minnesota, some of those evaluation, more formalized reports. We did develop our first newsletter. That just got out last week, and to me that's the most effective tool because it has stories. Stories of the Minnetonka group, stories of the Grand Rapids group, or the cities, and that's where the real power.
What are some of them? Tell us some of the stories.
Oh, geez, you guys help me out here. What are some of our stories?
I've had a couple calls from. It's mostly the parents that you actually hear them from. The first one I got was a mother called, or I was talking with her about the program, and she just. To her, it was kind of a sideline. She didn't call me to tell me, but she ended up telling me that they were out at a McDonald's, and for the first time in her daughter's life, a friend, a peer, yelled from across the McDonald's, "Bethany, Bethany," waving and saying hello. And before she got in this program, that just never really happened. It wasn't really acceptable or
well, and that's something that all parents want. They want their children to have friends. That's a very. And the newsletter and those kinds of stories will encourage other parents to get involved. We've got a couple of minutes left. Do you have any final words before we hear from the people involved in the program, those kids themselves?
It's been really fun for us because I think that we've developed a lot of friendships on our own with these young people, and we've I think part of the whole idea of the program is to forget about the program. And and to realize that these are just friendships that can exist on their own. And I think that we've seen a lot of that growth over the years.
So rather than consciously setting out to be a volunteer or to do good or to help someone, natural things happen, which happens anytime people get together.
We've learned a lot. We're not perfect by any means.
I think the other
a lot of programs don't admit that.
I think the thing that I found most interesting is when we first started and we did the initial training with the peer helpers out at Camp Itahapi, we were all pretty well set to have to work through a lot of stereotypes and prejudices and stuff, and we're stunned to find that the kids that were involved in the program were on a much higher level. I mean, they were much more accepting of other people than we thought they were going to be. We didn't have to do a lot of that training and teaching. That's what I was going to say. They were already there.
I found it's a real adult issue in terms of working with folks with disabilities. It's not so much the kids at all. They're very accepting, but it's very adult-based in terms of barriers. This problem and that problem.
We worry so much about that, and I think often kids they're getting more information about this in school now. They're in their children's literature, TV programs, all sorts of things. Well, thank you very much for being with us today, and now let's hear from the students themselves.
Great.
Thanks.
I'm here with some very special students from Minnetonka Junior High, and we are here talking today about the Empowerment for Leadership program, which is a collaborative effort between Districts 287, Minnetonka Junior High, and the Ridgedale YMCA. And these are kids that can do a lot of speaking for themselves, so I am going to have them introduce themselves to you, and we'll start with Chrissy.
My name is Chrissy Strillich. I kind of joined this program. I work with the kids during the 3rd hour period, helping them out over read study period, and we joined an after-school thing to make a fun program for them. This is Bethany Ferratus. She's one of the kids I work with and that we work with on Wednesdays.
Thanks, Chrissy.
I'm Don Smith, and I just joined up because one of the counselors at school or whatever told me about Pete, and I just got to talking with him, and he asked me if I wanted to help, so I did. It's fun.
Great. Thanks.
I'm Stephanie Polson, and I just recently joined because my friend told me about it, and Chrissy, and said it would be fun, and it was. I just started, and I stay after every Wednesday until 4:30.
I can't talk that much because I have a very bad cold, so I gotta talk slow. I'm Liz Seltz. What to say?
That's okay, you can just introduce yourself. That's fine.
Okay, I like this program because Wednesdays we play games with Pete and all the girls, and I like to be with them because they're fun to be with.
Thank you. That says a lot. We started this program with a kickoff at one of our YMCA camps, which was a team building thing with the Peer Helpers group. And it's been interesting because the group has changed quite a bit over the school year. And I think the only one from this group that was there was Chrissy. Chrissy, you want to talk about that kickoff weekend? Just a couple of sentences about what that was all about. I mean, it seems like a long time ago, but try to remember it.
We went up there and we did a lot of things working together. We climbed a wall, 3 people on. We did some training. We had a really great time. It was really fun.
One of the neat things about this program is that we've had some participation come in as the program has continued on throughout the school years. Stephanie, could you talk about what got you interested in the program initially, and what's kind of kept you in the program since you came? About, what was it, 2 or 3 months? It's been more than that. It's been like 4 months now.
Yeah, well, just one day Chrissy asked me if I wanted to come just to see how I liked it, and just because she said it was really fun, so I went. And we just started out with, we just would play basketball and stuff, and then we got into doing more things, and it was really fun.
Great, thanks. I'd like for Don to talk about some of the things that happen on a daily basis with these kids. Sometimes it's not all fun and games, and sometimes we have some things that we need to deal with. Can you talk about some of that real briefly?
Well, there's some of the kids that are like on Wednesdays after schools that, they're fun, but some of the stuff they do, it's kind of hard to get along with them, but it's been fun to work with them and stuff.
Great. So that's kind of a stretch for you, which is kind of what it's all about, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Emily joined the program kind of late too, and it's been fantastic having her around. It's been a real joy. Can you talk about what's made it fun for you and why it's important, why Wednesdays after school are important to you?
Well, I like to join in playing games with this. I just joined in. My mom wanted me to think how the Y program would be good for me to join in with friends. And that's one thing I like to do is make new friends, because it's really easy for me. Because I went 3 different schools, and I joined make new friends with Pete and others, and it's fun.
Okay. Bethany, have you enjoyed the program? Mm-hmm. You have enjoyed the program. You've been a huge part of this program, and we've had a lot of fun with you since the first day. Chrissy, can you talk about Bethany's involvement with the program? I know we've kind of seen her develop a lot since November, and talk about the friendships that have been developed with Bethany and some of the other kids.
When Bethany started out, she was very quiet. She never participated in anything, kind of sat off in her own corner and did her own thing. As time went on, she had developed. She started joining in things. She's met a lot of new people doing this, people that work, peer helpers that bring in friends. We really try to get everyone involved, and she really likes to play basketball, do frisbee, or when we have parties and everything. She really enjoys it.
Bethany, is she telling the truth?
Mm-mm.
She's was part of that. Part of that wasn't. Was the part of that not true? Okay. Yeah, Bethany has a really bad time. You can tell she's having a really bad time right now. One of the things that's made this program really special for me is the relationships that have been built up through the year since November. We've had some great friendships built, and this is just part of our group. Stephanie, could you talk about, you came in late, can you talk about some of the relationship building that you've seen going on since you've become a part of the program?
Okay, well, I've seen a lot more people like opening up to other people, and I've noticed, like, I mean, just within all of us, people have started making more friends and getting along better.
And have you noticed the same thing, Don? Do you feel like you've made friends with everybody in the program? And
yeah.
Have you? Great. And you know, you start the program and you kind of have two separate groups of people. I wonder if you guys could talk about how that's changed over the year. I know I've really felt it, and Doug's felt it too when we start out with two very distinct groups of people, but I really feel like we're one group now. Do you guys feel that way? Emily, can you talk about that? Do you feel like this is one group that pretty much hangs out together?
Yes, it does.
Definitely?
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Okay. We all kind of share the same frustrations and have the same good time when that does happen. Beth, you got something to say? Well, that says a lot. Look, Chris, you talk about it, because you were with us from the very beginning, from Camp Idahoppy, and you're with us till the end, which kind of means that you're a trooper. Could you talk about the group and kind of the dynamics and how that's grown over the year?
When we started, there was two separate groups. We really weren't one big group. There was half of them on the other side of the gym and the other half on the other side doing their own thing. As time went on, we started doing more things together. Being as a big group, helping out, participating in a lot more things and doing our separate things.
I'd like to also share that Chrissy and Matt, who's not with us today, and I and Kathy went on a camping weekend to Camp Sunrise, I believe it was, and that was an incredible experience. At least it was for me. We were pretty exhausted by the end of the weekend, but some of the things that we did with all the kids involved and all the adults involved were really special. Could you talk about, Chris, some of those things that we did with Matt and some of the other kids?
Well, there was snow on the ground, so we cross-country skiing. We went on nature hikes. We went snowshoeing. We built forts. It was really fun. Matt was a very quiet person at the beginning, and he always has been. But as time went on, as we were up in the weekend, we noticed that he started doing a lot more things, a lot more daring, met some new people, and he had a really great time. So did I.
That was a real growth weekend for everybody, including myself. Don, what's the most special part of this program for you? I mean, when Wednesday comes around and you wake up in the morning and you think about the program, what do you think about as being the best part of it for you?
Well, when I wake up, I like to help people a lot. Mm-hmm. Just do whatever I can to help people, and I like to volunteer for things, and mm-hmm. It's fun to be able to do that kind of stuff.
That's great. I think that's real important, and that's a virtue. We have volunteer blood in us. And we get a lot out of this program too. As Steph, as a peer helper, can you talk about what you get out of it? I mean, we know what you give to it, but what do you get out of it as a peer helper?
Well, I get a lot of like great feelings that I've helped people and made a lot of new friends doing it. And you just get to experience a lot of things that you ordinarily wouldn't.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that we do is we kind of extend our comfort level, or extend our boundaries a little bit when we expose ourselves to people with differences, and that's kind of what it's all about. What's special about it for you? When you think about, if you could think about one thing about this program that's real special for you, what would it be?
I really don't know, Lily.
You don't know? Okay. You've been in it. You haven't been in it a real long time, but you've.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I've been doing other stuff lately.
Tell me about some of the other stuff that you've been doing.
Like sports, like anything, like sports.
Okay.
Oh, I like to the roller skate, I like to go canoeing, and make friendship bracelets, and talk to people on phone, and all that stuff. And I do a lot. I help my mom clean and do all that wonderful things with my friends.
Great.
So
that's great. I mean, everybody's involved in a lot of stuff, and they still find time to do stuff with the YMCA program. Before we leave here, I want to mention real quick that Bethany and Emily are both going to be part of a camping service experience that's going to be real special for 5 days after the school year's over, and we're really looking forward to having them join us. Are you looking forward to that, Beth?
I know you're going to say that.
Well, you can lie.
I've been to favorite camp.
Okay, thanks you guys. That was awesome. Give yourselves a hand.
Empowerment for Youth Leadership, an interesting program and certainly one which seems to elicit a lot of enthusiasm for the participants in the Ridgedale Y program. We have been asked to announce that the content of this video does not necessarily reflect the position or policy of the Governor's Planning Council on Developmental Disabilities, nor that of the State Planning Agency. Thank you, Kathy Truax, Peter Marker, and Doug Barnes, and a special thanks to the young people who joined us on All About Kids today. Thank you for tuning in. Please join us again.
This has been a presentation of Hennepin County Library in conjunction with the Twin Cities Metropolitan Library Service Agency. We thank you for watching, and we hope you visit your public library often.